In this video clip, I'm looking at the grouping of notes and rest in simple time. So first of all, what is the purpose of grouping? And I'm sure many of you out there might say it's to make life difficult. Whether you're a teacher or a learner, you might say it's to make life difficult, and I get it, okay? Because there are so many different rules. But what I intend to do in this video clip is to basically provide you with a blueprint that you can apply to all your various time signatures. And the first thing that I want to say is that just remember, if you take 3/4 versus 3/8, the only difference there is the value of the beat. So if in 3/4, your tempo is going to be 120 crotchet beats, and you compare it to 120 quaver beats in 3/8, you're going to get exactly the same effect, okay? So I want to give you a blueprint that you can basically apply to the various time signatures. Okay, so we've already said that the purpose of grouping is actually not to make your life difficult. The real purpose is to make it easier to read music. That's the first rule that you need to remember. It's to make it easier to read music, okay? And when in doubt, you have to ask yourself, is this version, say version A, easier to read than version B, okay? Because that is the whole purpose of grouping. So I want you guys to quickly have a look at this example. How many semiquavers do you see? I'm sure by now you know that there are 12 semiquavers, okay? Some of you maybe counted in pairs, some of you started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but you started to read it from the side. I'm pretty sure of that. Maybe there's someone here and there that would have seen it's 12, okay? But most people don't see this is 12, okay? Why? Because they're all grouped together, okay? And when you explain grouping to learners, I want you to use an example like this. It really makes it clear and they get the purpose of grouping, okay? So if we're going to just erase that and we're going to have them in groups of 4, suddenly it's very easy to read. And suddenly you can see that there are 3 groups of 4 notes. And that is the purpose of grouping. So I'm going to just go through a couple of important things that you need to remember when it gets to grouping. And I'm going to take you through a couple of examples. I am going to share my screen with you. Okay, so you can see there that we have to know how we divide a beat. So if we look at a quaver beat, so that is when you have 3/8 or 4/8, time signatures like that. You can see that you split your quaver beat into 2 semiquavers. If you have a triplet, there you go. And then if you have demi-semiquavers, you can see you split it further and they are joined together. Then if you look at your crotchet beat, then same thing. And that's why I want you to see the similarity here. So you split it into 2 quavers. You can see the triplet now is just in quaver notes. And then if you split into semiquavers, you've got your 4 semiquavers. Can you see the similarity there? And then if you go further down, so here, there are different ways to do it. You can see that here they've been placed on one beam. In this, using this, you can still see it belongs to the same beat, but you can also, of course, split it up into 2 groups there. And because your beat is divided into 2, you would always divide, if you separate your beat when you get to the smaller note values, you will split into 2 or into 4. There you can see you've got demi-semiquavers. For me, that looks quite complicated. So I would suggest rather splitting it into 2 groups there. Okay, so that is a gray area. And I personally feel you would be fine if you notate it either like that or like that. And then when we get to the minim beat, you can see again, we've got our two crotchets. When we split into quavers, then you see the similarity there. There we had quavers, 4 quavers that are beamed together, 4 semiquavers, 4 demi-semiquavers. Okay, it's the same principle that we use when we split the beat into smaller units. And I just want to quickly show you, I forgot this example, hang on one sec. So this division that I'm using is in this book that I've written. It's for grade 12 subject music in South Africa. And I actually explained all these grouping rules in here. Okay, so let's just have a look at a couple of overall grouping rules. So the first rule is everything that forms part of the same beat is grouped together. That is the most important rule to remember. Always when I teach, I tell the kids, if all else fails, if you get completely confused, at least do that, and you will get some of your marks. Then a good general indication is in duple and quadruple time, the middle of the bar must be visible, and you can see I just added the perforated line there. And so splitting into a beat 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then in triple time, the division 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 is visible. That already helps a lot. And you'll see as we go through the grouping rules now, they just support these basic rules. Okay, and then if a bar in duple time or in triple time consists of quavers, or a combination of quavers and semiquavers, you can group it together. You can see it there, and there's a combination. However, though, the rhythm needs to be the same in the 2 beats. Okay, so if you're going to have a quaver there, 2 semiquavers, 2 semiquavers, and then a quaver, you would split it into 2 separate beats and group them, separately. Okay, then semiquavers are grouped in separate beats, and that is when you have if you have crotchet beats in a bar. So that goes for 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. And of course, if this had to be now 3/8, it would be 4 demi-semiquavers that are grouped together in your beats. Okay, then just another general rule. If 3 beats consist of 1 note, a single note value is used instead of 3 tied notes, and we avoid ties as far as possible. And then the last general one is that after you've improved the grouping, the rhythm must still sound the same. Okay, you're not allowed to change the rhythm. The grouping of notes, yes, but not the rhythm. Okay, so just check that, and also check that the pitch is still correct. Okay, and then from this point onwards, so you'll see I'm going to talk now about beat 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, but that I'm going to do on the board. Okay, so let's quickly just have a look at this. So this is how easy grouping rules in simple time is. And you're going to see how I actually pull these rules through the compound time as well. So you have 3, so apart now from the basic rules I just discussed, you have 3 important rules, okay? And that is that you can group beat 1 and 2 together. You can group beat 2 and 3 together under certain circumstances. And you can group beat 3 and 4 together. Okay, so when can you group them together? Beat 1 and 2, you can always group it together. It doesn't matter what what time signature you're working with. So whether it is 2 on 4, 3 over 8, 4 over 4, it doesn't matter. You can group it 1 and 2 together if the 2 beats consist of one long note. So if you think, for example, of 3 over 4, so this is now just the first part of your bar, obviously. So beat 1 and 2 is grouped as one long note, a minim note. Okay, so you can also say it's a long note, because if you look at 3 over 8, it's going to be a crotchet note. Okay, so can you see that I use the exact same principle and I apply it to different time signatures. And then, if your beat 1 and 2, it can be split into 4. Okay, so basically each beat is split into 2. You can group it together. And like you've seen, I pointed it out when we looked at that part in the book where I shared the screen, is that you can also have another rhythm, okay? Just as long as the rhythm is the same for both beats, okay? So there the rhythm is the same, and therefore I can group it together. If the rhythm isn't the same, you have to have 2 separate beats, okay? Then, if you look at 2 and 3, you can also always, whenever beat 1 and 2 consist of a long note, you can just write it as one long note. Then, when it gets to the grouping of, 4 notes, in this case, it would say, for example, be 3 over 4 or 2 over 4. Then you can only group them together if it's in triple time. Remember that. So if it's quadruple time, you're not allowed to group them together. Please remember that. Okay. And then when it gets to beat 3 and 4, it's exactly the same as the grouping of beat 1 and 2. Okay. So that's really how simple it is. And then I just want to quickly show you one more example. And I did mention this earlier, but there I've written 3 on 4 and then 3 over 8, and I replicated the rhythmic effect. Okay, so I have 4 quavers and a crotchet. Here I have 4 semiquavers and a quaver. So the question there is, well, should I leave this one separate, or should I just group everything together? Okay, you just group everything together, and depending how strict the examination board is that you have entered the exam for, they might give you half a mark there, and or a full mark even, but they will definitely mark this one right. Okay, so because I have a combination between quavers and semiquavers. Then also just one last thing that I'm going to point out to you is that when a whole bar consists of, I did say it, I remember I did say it, but if a whole bar consists of quavers and semiquavers, then, quavers or a combination between quavers and semiquavers, in duple time and triple time, you can actually just group the whole bar together. Okay, and I just want to share my screen with you guys again. Let's just quickly look at syncopation. So when it gets to syncopation, you need to teach your learners that you have to avoid your ties, but not at the cost of your grouping rules, okay? And then this is also a very good general rule. If you have a note group that consists of a short and then a long note, you also avoid ties. So in this case, you would not split this dotted minim up into tied crotchets. And then, so that is the one thing when it gets to syncopation. So just remember, you had a short note, followed by a long note. That is how it works. You don't use ties. Same when you get to a group that consists of a short, long, short group. So there you can see you also avoid ties. So I have 2 minim beats in a bar there. So there's my beat 1. Okay, so within the beat, I split it up into a short and then a long and a short. And that, if you just actually bring it back to here, what we have on the board, it's like a mini version of what we had there. So we have 1, and then the 2 and 3 within the beat, that subdivision is together, and then the beat 4 is, not the beat, sorry, the fourth part of the beat is then on its own. And then you can also see there that I showed you that I avoided dies. And if you just look at these two examples, okay, they're not at the same time signature, but you'll get what I'm saying. You can see this looks easy to read. If you look at this, that looks easy to read. That looks more confusing to read. Okay, so remember that first, the basic rule of grouping, it is all about making it easier to read the music. And there will be gray areas. There will be times where you're going to doubt, should it be this one or this one? Just trust your gut and ask yourself which one would read easier for me, and chances are that you will actually have the right answer. Okay, and then I said that we are going to go into the last part just like 2 minutes ago, but I realized now that I'm not done yet. Okay, I'm going to quickly just talk about the rules when it gets to rest. That's very easy. And you know this, whenever a whole bar consists of a rest, so the whole bar is silent, you're going to use a semi-brief rest. And of course, the only time that we have an exception, because we always have exceptions, is that if you have 4/2, then you're actually going to use the brief rest to indicate if the whole bar rests. And then you always have separate rests for each beat, no matter what the time signature. Again, the only exception there is when you have a quadruple time signature and beat 1 and 2 rests, you can actually put it together as one rest. Also, when it gets to beat 3 and 4, you can also put it together as one rest, but you can't do the same in the middle for beat 2 and 3. And then I would just like to quickly end off by looking at irregular time signatures. And that's our quintuple time and then our septuple time. So those are simple time signatures, okay? Because we can't divide the top number by 3. Okay, so with all your compound time signatures, you can divide the top number by 3 and the bottom one by 2. And this is why these time signatures fall in simple time. Okay, so when it gets to quintuple time signatures, the grouping rules are very easy. You either split into 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2. And there you can see examples of that. Okay, 5 crotchet beats, and there you can see I grouped the first 2 together and the last 3, 3, 2. Okay, I think this is really very easy, and make it this easy for your learners as well. Okay, you need to show them how easy it is. Okay, and that's why you need to be clear about your grouping rules. And then if we look at septuple time, the main thing is 3 and 4. We split into 3 beats plus 4 beats, okay, or vice versa. What we can also do is we can subdivide the 4 into 2 plus 2, okay, like you can see there. So I've got a note, and then I've got a rest, and then I've got my 3, okay, and then there I have 2 plus 3 plus 2. And that is as simple as your irregular simple time signatures are. And that's all from me when it gets to simple time signatures and the grouping of notes and rests in them. Now I just need to stop my video.